Yes, I just want to thank you this splendid text, which is a very brilliant summary of many developments. And I would like to focus on your last comment on filiation, because it allows me to go back to one idea I mentioned the other day, which is that being human is being a child. And this is connected with your last comment on individualism. I was thinking of Nietzsche, and Nietzsche, of course, was individualist in a very radical sense. And Nietzsche resented language, and logic. We will believe in God as long as we believe in grammatic. No? This is a very famous dictum by Nietzsche. And this is right, because the logos is son. And Nietzsche doesn't want to be a son, which is a very important part. This is the metaphysical aspect to the present crisis. We don't want to be children. We think that our humanity is completely independent of being children of God in the first place, but also children of our parents. And therefore, we are in search of the Father, which is the search for our identity, both at the categorical level and also at the transcendental level.
Okay, thank you. Well, the question of filiation is obviously the main consequence of this cultural change. As it has been clearly expressed by Rafaela, becoming a human being is also entering filiation, in an intergenerational heritage, existing through all those who came before you, and this filial the research for who is my biological father, who is my mother, is something which all human beings would like to do. When you cannot be the son of a chemical manipulation, you cannot be the son of technology, and this is an illusion today, that because we are able to reproduce reproduction through artificial means, that the product will be the same that the product of union by love of caring parents. This is obvious, and this will be one of the main problems in the years to come, when we have more and more people born through, for instance, surrogate pregnancy and things like that. Now, you have mentioned Nietzsche. I don't know if you know the book of Baladier on Nietzsche, which is very amazing, because we all have of Nietzsche, but he's a poor guy after all, and he accepted this. And he said things which are marvelous. Of course, we know all that he did not know God and so on. But what he says about Jesus is amazing. He said, well, the apostles did understand nothing of Jesus and the church either. But he has very positive appreciation of the person of Jesus. He is the only one who gave his life out of love. And he was extremely positive on this. But of course, Nietzsche appears in the history of philosophy as the absolute revolution against anything above me. No God, no common, no natural law, no nothing. But after all, his whole life witnesses that this is impossible, that his own life was destroyed by these assumptions. But there was something in him which rebelled against his own ideology. And this is extremely interesting.
One after the other. Marcelo first, and then John.
Very simple. In what sense, we understand by Thomas Aquinas that the substance of the faith is belief in God and in his providence. All the other questions are in relation with this central question. So, in what sense the family as family assume this centrality of the faith? Of course, it's a sacrament, but if they not live this, this is because I think really not live according with the substance of the faith in the family is the main cause of all this situation terrible that in these days we have. So I ask to you this.
John?
Just an addition to your thinking, of which I think is brilliantly expressed and clearly and succinctly told. In your discussion of the family and the child, it's implicit that there are two, the mother and the father. I think one makes a plea, the situation where one is dead, where a parent is dead, to one family, one parent family. And why I bring that up now is that I think the church has a lot to help one-parent families, but it's a little sad that they're forgotten. I came from a one-parent family. My father died when I was very young. So I feel a little left out of the conversation, not the ethics of the principle, but you have to bear in mind that the lived experience of family may not coincide with the ideal. And therefore, the supplement that the church has to bring to those people is that they too matter, even though they have a one-parent experience. So maybe just a death of the family, that's one, or they split up or whatever. But I would make that very, just a thought to you that should be included. Thank you.
If you respond, and then there are two or three more afterwards.
Well, first, it is marriage that is a sacrament, and family based on the sacrament, of course, receive the powerful help of grace. This is why the link between natural marriage and sacramental marriage has always to be stressed. It is not another kind of marriage. It is the marriage in the plan of the Creator. And as we need the help of grace to keep the rules of the natural order, this is why the grace of sacrament is absolutely necessary. Today, unfortunately, more and more people do not resort to the sacrament of marriage, even if they are baptized. It's up to us to make them clear that it is a help which is in you, which is much more powerful than all the good advices that I can give or that society may help you. It is an inner structure which is built from your dedication to faith and to your link to Christ. Now, the question of families where one of the parents is dead, we know examples of extraordinary. I remember a family where the mother died and the father raised alone, maybe with the help of other persons, but alone, 5 children. And with an extraordinary result. But it may be rare. But normally, in this case, the father would try to marry again, but this is his own freedom, of course. But the church, the role of the church today is much easier to understand than maybe years behind, because also through the help of the wonderful encyclica of the Pope about familiaris consort, in armoris laetitia, to see that the church has a role to listen first, listen to the people. But each situation is different. And listen with attention, care, and love, and help people to find out which is the best way for them to overcome the difficulties that they are facing.
Thank you very much for your very rich paper. My question turns to you as a professor of canon law. I can understand very well the moral arguments for your position. But what I do not exactly understand is whether the church still upholds the idea that this moral idea should be the basis of positive law. Because after all, let me give you the famous example. When I was a young child, in Italy, there was a referendum supported by the Catholic Church to abrogate the divorce that had been legalized. And I myself, obviously, as a Catholic, take my marriage vow very seriously, and it would be a disaster for me to conceive a divorce. But I must confess you, I do think that it is reasonable that there is the institution of divorce. The situation in Italy in the 1960s was that there were, of course, a lot of separated couples that lived together with other people, that they had natural children who were not recognized. And so my question to you is, does the Catholic Church say this is the moral model, or does it say all legal forms that recognize the factuality of people living together and raising children together should not have the benefits of the law? That's fundamentally my question. And I also want to say one thing. I myself, all my work is written against this crazy constructivism. I do think that there's an objective, moral, and natural order. On the other hand, one has to recognize, and this has been recognized, for example, by the German Constitutional Court last year, there are rare cases that children are born with two sexes. It's, I think, 1 of 10,000 children. The legal system up to a few years ago in Germany was that the parents of these children, because when they're born they cannot do it, had to choose one of the sexes. And there was a very strong societal pressure to have the children subjected to an operation that eliminated one of the sexes. Now, we have come to the conclusion that this is very cruel to these children and that this has limits, and therefore the Constitutional Court has said in the rare cases where this is the case, we need to recognize that there is a third sex. The legal system has to offer that. And I think this is completely reasonable. It becomes absurd when anyone can change his sex at will. But that there are cases where people are neither man nor female is a rare fact, and there's too much fuss made about it, but it's a fact that must have legal consequences. And if you are based on the respect of the individuals, the decisions, for example, of the German Constitutional Court was a completely reasonable decision.
Your question. What is your question?
People born as a hermaphrodite. Again, they are rare, but they do exist.
The field where you need a special training, which I may not have, to give the right answer. But I can say you one thing. In the case of a change of sex during life, people, for instance, come for marriage and have changed sex in the meantime, after baptism. The rule of the church, this is the rule now, is that we stick to the sex registered for baptism. And we cannot say more. And this does not, but what you are saying now is something very different, is that a baby who is a sex which is not defined, not very clear. Well, this I have no canonical answer for this, because, well, this is a question left to medicine and also care from parents, and so that this question be cleared as soon as possible. But what you also suggested is, does the Church recognize all forms of union? No, we cannot. We do not make any discrimination with the people, but we say we are not competent for types of unions which are not those implicated in the creation, man and woman. It is something else. It is something else respective to the plan of God. This does not mean that people who have made that choice are discarded from the church. They continue to everything you want, but we cannot propose marriage to other forms of union than men and women.
Legal forms for that? That is my question.
I have nothing to say to the political order. They're totally independent, and we also are independent from the political order.
A question, do we have time, Chancellor, to take one more? We're pardon? Marcelo, you could ask if you can keep it really short. Would you? Let's take a break. Thank you.